Good morning on what is a mild, grey and overcast day. It is Friday, November the 11th, and I'm back in the reading Nook with a box to continue unboxing and a nice hot cup of tea. And the next thing I'm going to pull out of here is, let's grab this, it is this, which is The Decade in Tory by Russell Jones, an inventory of idiocy from the coalition to the COVID. This is okay. If you're on Twitter, I don't know for how long. What you need to do is kind of look up something called The Week in Tory, where the author Russell Jones breaks down the activities of the Tories this week, for the last week, if you are if you are going to vote for the Conservatives, you probably don't want to read it. If you don't vote for the Conservatives and so on, it is managed to be both shocking and hilarious at the same time. It is just essentially jaw-dropping. So what we have in here is basically a collection of those and more. In 2020, the United Kingdom reached a bewildering milestone: 10 successive years of Conservative rule. In that decade, there were 3 prime ministers, each in turn described as the worst leader we ever had, ministerial resignations by the hundred, and an unrelenting stream of ineffectual, divisive bum slurry oozing from 10 Downing Street. So, if you're going to describe something as divisive bum slurry oozing from, you get the impression this is not a pro-Conservative or pro-government book. The Decade in Tory is an inglorious, rollicking and entirely true account of 10 years of demonstrable lies, relentless incompetence, epic waste, serial corruption, official police investigations, anti-democratic practices, abuse of power, dereliction of duty, and hundreds of thousands of avoidable deaths. Obviously referring to the treatment of some people during the pandemic. With his signature scathing wit, Russell Jones breaks down the government's interminable failures year by year, covering everything from David Cameron's pledge to tackle inequality, which reduced UK life expectancy for the first time since 1841, for the bewildering storm of lies and portrayals that led to Brexit, devastating education cuts, serial mismanagement of the NHS, and Boris Johnson's calamitous response to the COVID-19 pandemic. It will leave you gasping and wondering, can things possibly get any worse? So this is up to 2020. How are we doing, folks? So yes, and essentially Russell Jones is the man behind Russ in Cheshire on Twitter. He publishes regular breakdowns of the government's regular breakdowns under the hashtag The Week in Tory. The Decade in Tory is his first book. And it's pretty much like this all the way throughout. Things like the wrong walk to freedom, take up the cudgels, fornicating hippies, badgers move the goalposts, mad swivel-eyed loons, going through year by year. And it opens with, settle in, imbibe whatever sedative or chemical agent does the trick for you, and let's rewind the clock to those halcyon days of 2010. Remember those? When we all still thought things couldn't get any worse. Remember how that felt? Me neither, but honestly, there was a time when we still thought rock bottom was the shambolic, incoherent, and unrepresentative backroom scramble to assemble a working government while the global economy collapsed around us. This is it, we said. This is as bad as it will ever get. Oh, to be that naive again. But truthfully, things in Britain have reached a terrible new low. The banking system had gone into meltdown, unemployment has spiked at over 2.5 million. I'm not going to pronounce that because the IFR volcanic eruption presented unprecedented challenges to both airlines and newsreaders. Cadbury had been sold off to the Americans, and the Vauxhall insignia had been inexplicably become Britain's ninth best-selling car. The madness could go on. It was obvious Labour couldn't go on either. Britain's voters had grown tired of looking at the miserable face of Gordon Brown, and the moment arrived to replace him with an even more distribution of misery. So this sets the tone for this book. And it's kind of like you're kind of going, this only runs up to 2020. You know. Oh, by the way, this is okay. Okay. That's the book. That's the notes. That's just the sort of like the field notes of, you know, basically the footnotes and so on. Pages and pages upon them. Just yeah. Well, it's not quite all those because it's just field notes. Yeah. That. So you are talking sort of like roughly it's sort of like, you know, I would say a quarter of the book is field notes. It's footnotes, or endnotes, sorry. So yeah, there is an index. So yeah, if you want to be reminded at all of sort of like just how fantastically ingloriously awful it's been over the past, well, 10 years, but 12, well, it's missing out 12 years technically, then perhaps this is the book you kind of want to read. So yeah, during the referendum campaign, Johnson's Vote Leave group had sent a leaflet to millions of homes stating, there is a free trade zone stretching all the way from Iceland to the Russian border. We will still be part of it after we vote leave. It went on to say, taking back control is a careful change, not a sudden step. We will negotiate the terms of a new deal before we start any legal process to leave. That's what Johnson promised, and that's what people believed when they voted in the referendum. Yet in September 2019, Johnson withdrew the whip from 21 of his own MPs, effectively expelling them from the parliamentary party because they had voted to force him to do what he was promised: stay in a free trade zone and negotiate terms before leaving, rather than quit the single market and rush to no deal in order to hit a self-imposed deadline. The suspended MPs included Winston Churchill's grandson and 8 former Tory ministers, among them Ken Clarke. He had been right-wing enough for Thatcher to have him in her cabinet and sat on Tory benches for 49 years. He was now described the party as having been taken over by the nationalist right. That's just talking about one incident. Decade in Tory. Yes, probably, you know, should go in the stocking of almost every reader. I don't know why that sort of like strange tag there is there at the bottom, but anyway. So yeah, Decade in Tory by Russell Jones, available from any good bookshop. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, political or not, then please do click on the like. Then please do post them. In the meantime, thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.